Are you a purpose-driven entrepreneur struggling to get web traffic that converts into paying clients? Stop wasting time and money. Discover how to position yourself as the go-to authority in your niche or industry. Infuse your wow website with the best unmarketing strategies and drive traffic to your website that converts to leads and clients. Listen to the Unmarket Your Business podcast today and watch as your ideal clients find you with ease. Let's head into the studio now with our hostess with the mostest, Carol J. Dunlop. Well, hey, everybody, and welcome to episode 2 of the Unmarket Your Business podcast. I hope you enjoyed episode 1. If not, go back there and watch it right now. I'm kidding. It's so good to have you here. It's so good to be back. As a matter of fact, that was the title of the last one. I'm back. I hope you enjoyed it and are getting ready for the awesomeness that's coming at you in just a few minutes. So this episode is all about women of color web designers. As I said in the intro, well, not even in the intro, but in episode 1, that if you don't know any women of color web designers, hey, you know me, I'm here, right? But I've got some friends. I've got a couple of friends that I invited on to talk about what it's like to be a woman of color and a web designer at the same time. It's good, it's crazy, it's enjoyable, it's wonderful, it's full of, I don't know what the heck is going on. And guess what else? I got my biz bestie, Nadine Mullings of Nadine Mullings Marketing Agency to moderate the whole thing so that I could be on the other side and be a panelist. Okay, so without any further ado, let's jump in the studio and let's get to talking to these women of color web designers. I know you're going to love it.
Hello, everyone. I'm super excited today because I am hosting an amazing panel as we kick off this season of the Unmarket Your Business podcast. We are talking about amazing things. And today we're going to be talking about website design and particularly women of color in website designing. So I'm excited to be able to talk to all of the guests that we have on today. So I'm going to introduce each one of them one person at a time, and then we're going to open up the panel for a panel discussion. So first of all, let me introduce myself. I am Nadine Mullings with Nadine Mullings Marketing Agency, and I am the host of the panel today, and I'm hosting this for Carol's amazing podcast, Unmarket Your Business podcast. So I'm super excited for us to get into the conversation for today. So I'm going to bring first to the stage is Bernice, and I'm going to have Bernice introduce herself and how long she's been in this space of web design. Bernice, welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Nadine. I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into the space of web design.
Well, I hate to say my age, but in the MySpace age, I was learning to code. I was just intrigued by design then. I didn't start my business at that time. To me, it was just, I was just trying to get in that space and in the space of community and also designed. And around 2009 was when I was really heavily into designing and coding. And then 2012 was when I started Loman Creative Services. So it was around that 2009, between 2009 and 2012 was when I was truly into it and serious about designing with Loman Creative Services.
Awesome. I love it. Whenever I hear MySpace, I know that you've been in it for a minute. You've been in it for a minute. So I love that. Well, welcome to the panel, Bernice, and we will be hearing more from you shortly. Next up, I'm going to have Victoria come to the stage. Welcome, Victoria.
Thank you. Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got into the space of web design.
Yeah. So my business, the Pier Collective Web Design Studio, is actually really new. I'm probably the newest person in this space on this panel. I just started my business officially about 2 years ago. Next month, it will actually be my 2-year anniversary. But prior to that, I always had an interest in web design. But what what actually really got me into it was actually more so my interest in helping local business owners in my area. I live in the Metro Detroit area, and I was really interested in helping business owners in my area really flourish and do the things that I see other entrepreneurs doing in other areas that I just didn't see for us. And I initially had an online business directory, and I just pivoted because I found that I was more interested in building the directory, like the actual act of building the website out. And that's how I learned WordPress. I actually taught myself WordPress by building out the directory for my first business directory. And then I just seen that there was opportunity for digital marketing services as we, got further into the 21st century, and just some things like funnels and email marketing and web design. It just became so intriguing to me. And I just really wanted to create something that would allow me to share those skills with the people, the entrepreneurs that I know in my local area.
Yeah, I love that, Victoria. I love that our panel is so diverse. We have people that's been in it for a minute and people that just started 2 years ago, but have a passion for web design. And I love that you taught yourself WordPress. WordPress is a platform that I have my website on. I want to say the stats show that 60% or 70%, you guys probably know better than me, of websites are designed on WordPress. So that's amazing that you were able to teach yourself that WordPress platform that you're in space. All right, next up we have Alexis. All right, Alexis, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So tell us, how did you get into the space of web design? What is your backstory?
So mine starts further back as well. I related to not necessarily as far back as MySpace, but I basically started in 2009 and actually launched my first WordPress blog in 2010. So that's how I started, was just to blog initially. And I also taught myself WordPress. It was much harder to install then. And so I did that and realized that I was pretty good at it and I enjoyed it. So I took a course, and by 2012, I officially launched basically a techie VA business where I was supporting other online entrepreneurs with their newsletters, their websites, everything. I also offered web design along with the techie VA services. And then I basically relaunched in 2020 officially again with full service like digital marketing and web design as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love how a lot of people have mentioned like the connection with email and funnels. Like it's not just a pretty website, but all the other pieces of marketing and the tech side of it too. And so you've been in it for over 10 years. So excited to have you on the panel today. And last but not least, we're going to have Carol come on the stage and introduce herself. And she is actually the host of this podcast. So Carol, last but not least.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. I can't tell you how awesome it feels when you have a dream or a vision and you see the vision come to life. And even though you have hiccups and stuff, which is my journey, you just see it all coming out to fruition. I just love it. So I want to thank everyone who is both on the panel or watching this right now, because this is a very important episode.
Yeah, exactly. And Carol, do you want to give us a little background about your web design and how you got into the field?
I think I'm the oldest one here and the oldest going back so far, because we started in 1994 when the www just hit. I remember all about MySpace and all the hot dogs. Anybody remember hot dog and all of that? So my husband is the one that I can blame or credit for me doing this, because I was a graphic designer for years and years. And he said, your design work and your talent is just too big for this stuff that you're doing, this job that you're doing. So we need to start our own company. And we did. We started Creative Services International in 1994. We're still going now. My husband and I are still together. We still love each other. And as a matter of fact, we just celebrated our 30th year anniversary. So we've been through all the tricks and the trades and everything that goes with web design, including animation, automation,
marketing, all of that. So, and we're here to stay. And we still have clients who have been with us 20 years, 10 years, 15 years, 5 years. And we have a couple that just started a couple weeks ago.
I love that. I always love to hear your story because it talks about how your husband had a bigger vision, right? Sometimes it's the people closest to us, like our spouse, that may see things bigger than what we see for ourselves. So knowing that Alvin had that big vision for you to start this web design company as a couple working together, that's a whole nother podcast, is awesome and amazing. And you guys are still standing 30 years later. So
hey there, would you like to be a guest on the Unmarket Your Business podcast? Simple. All you need to do is go to unmarketyourbusiness.com/podcast.
All right, so I'm going to add everyone on the stage so we can start this panel discussion. And what we're going to be talking about today, as you may notice, all of the women on the panel today are women of color. And there's a reason for that, because the discussion that we're having today is about what women of color face in the web design space. You know, some of the things that they have to overcome, some of the things maybe they have to deal with. So we're going to have a conversation all about women of color in web design. And we're going to start off with kind of pet peeves. Like, what are some of the key things that, you know, you've noticed that you've, whether you've just started 2 years in, you've been in for 30 years, you know, our panel is very diverse today. What are some of the things that you've noticed? So a couple of pet peeves. So I'm going to kind of just open up the discussion and have a roundtable discussion. Carol, I'm going to take over and make it a roundtable discussion and have a volunteer start. You know, as women of color in web design space, what are some of the things that you've maybe noticed, or what are some of the challenges that you've had to overcome? Anyone want to take a stab at that first question?
I want to start because this is my pet peeve of pet peeves, and that is using Gmail as your email address. Stop doing that. If you have a Gmail address right now, and any of y'all who are watching this, get rid of that thing and use the email address that matches your website. And the reason I say that is because why are you promoting Google and Gmail? They don't need your help. You need to be promoting your own website. So there, got that off my chest.
I actually really love that you started with that, Carol, because that's a pet peeve of mine too. It's like when I deal with a professional and they give me a Gmail address as their email address, I don't look at them as a professional anymore. I don't know. I don't want to be an email snob or something, but it's like you haven't taken the time to invest in your own domain and your own domain name and made your business professional to make sure your business email address matches your domain. Then I'm going to question your sense of business, right? So I love that you started off with that, you know, even as a website designer, some of the things that you look out for is simple things like email addresses. I know one time I connected Carol with a fellow web designer. I'll tell about this story. And she saw in the connection that she had a Gmail address. And I reached out back to Carol and said, hey, did you ever talk to that lady that does websites? She's like, girl, she had a Gmail address. And I was like, what does that mean? Y'all. She's like, yeah, I'm going to contact her, but I just can't take her seriously right now. So I love that you started off with the Gmail address issue. Anyone else want to jump in on their thoughts about someone having a Gmail address as their actual business email address? Any other thoughts on that on the panel?
I wouldn't say it's a pet peeve of mine, but I do agree that it does stand you out as a professional. I remember some years ago, I would do a webinar with a fellow business professional. And what they did was on their side, they would help assist the business owner with business credit. So if any of you ever familiar with business credit, one of the mandatory things for you to get business credit is that you have to have a professional domain. And so we would partner together to make sure that those businesses who were interested in getting started with business credit, they had a professional email. So I remember, teaching about that and saying, hey, you guys need this professional email. So yes, I definitely agree with that. I wouldn't say it's my very number one pet peeve, but I do see that it is highly important, not just with business credit, but as you were saying, Nadine, standing yourself apart from any other business professional, it is really good to make sure that you do have a professional email with your domain. Yes, it does stand you apart. And like Ms. Carol said, it does allow you to promote your business versus Google and any other. And I have to say, though, when I do see emails that are like Comcast or like old, I've seen recently someone had an AOL. I'm like, whoa.
Or mine's burning.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I love that. So I have a confession to make. I do have an AOL, but that's for personal, right?
Yes,
and the reason why I have an AOL is I've had it from the beginning. So many things are on that AOL. I have a Gmail as well, but I just can't get rid of the AOL. So sometimes I see myself still using the AOL for personal things, right? Gmail and AOL for personal. So yeah, I understand, Bernice. So Bernice, you talked about that's not your pet peeve, but you also mentioned what your pet peeve is as far as web design original versus samples when clients want the exact design as someone else. So let's talk about your particular pet peeve and why that's a pet peeve for you when a client wants an exact design as someone else.
Well, hint, creative is in our name. So I'm all about innovation, creativity, doing something that that stands that client apart from the rest. I believe in making sure that branding is important. We don't just focus on the marketing side, but I believe branding does stand you apart from your other competitors or those that are in your shared space. And one of the pet peeves I do have is when a client has tons of samples to say, I want it just like this. To me, I feel like that's, for one, that's plagiarism, design plagiarism, if that's a thing, right? I agree with, there's some inspiration that you can pull from looking at certain designs, but it's a pet peeve of mine when I do have clients who say, I want it exactly like this. Like, okay, their animation is just this, let's do that. I recently, like maybe 2 months ago, had a client that gave me a website and they wanted it exactly like that. I'm like, okay, it took away from my creativity. It took away from what I had already had envisioned along with theirs. Creative. I have a gift as well. Like I can foresee a lot of things. Like if I listen to a client, even in a strategy session, glory to God, is a gift from God that I really can see it. Like I can begin to see the visual. So it takes away from the creativity that God has given me and the gift that God gives me. If someone says, I don't want that, I want it just like that someone else could create it. So to me, that is like an all-time pet peeve of mine, because I like to stick to innovation, something creative, versus exactly how someone else done it, because I feel like God has given that designer something and they've created it based on their creativity and their innovation. And I wouldn't want to take away. That's just like if I created something, I would feel some kind of way. I look at someone else's website and it's exactly how I designed it. So for me, I'm like, hold up, that's something I created. So why would you do it? I've seen it happen. Trust me, I've seen, even with graphic designs, I've seen it in videos. I'm like, okay, God gave me that. I definitely know that came from God. So I know where they got that from. So to me, it's a pet peeve. So definitely.
I love that. Yeah. The difference between inspiration and plagiarism, right?
Correct.
You desire to be inspired, not plagiarized. So, So what are your thoughts on templates? Because I know, like for me, for example, instead of starting a website from scratch, sometimes you can purchase templates and build from a template. So do you feel the same thing about templates, that it's
templates are fine, because I see it like this. For one, let me throw this out there. What we offer too for clients that may not can afford even the website design from scratch, we offer templates for our clients. And so I understand that there are various reasons why someone would choose a template, and for time purposes, there's cost that people may want to they have a budget, and I understand that as well. So to me, I feel like even if you use a template, you should still have some form of creativity. That template is just a baseline. Like, I feel like even if you use that template, throw in your designs from there. Like, you should have some type of custom graphics. It depends on the platform too as well, because there are some website platforms that you can't go around too much of creativity. Like, it is coded the way it's based, and not to share certain platform names, but there are some platforms that their templates you can't do too much, and I try to stick away, kind of like step away from that, because I do have some clients that are like, okay, I built the founding of it here, can you make it like this? And I look and I'm like, that site is a website, a WordPress. I mean, but you're here on this basic template. And so I just want clients to also know, those who are watching here, to understand that you must know what type of platform your website is going to be on and what are you looking for, because there are some platforms that, as we're talking about templates, you can't do too much in. They have control over that creativity on templates. So I would say templates are okay, but let's just make a plan on exactly what you need and what you're looking for, because there are some templates you cannot do a lot of things for. Like, I've had people ask, like, they wanted a robust membership and people to download things. I'm like, okay, certain templates doesn't allow that on the back end for what you're looking for, but I can offer this on this end, but there's a cost, because there's more time that goes into it, and this is not a template, this is customized coding that goes into that. So long story short, templates are okay. It depends on what you're looking for, and if you have one goal in mind for creativity and innovation, I would say, okay, let's look at another option.
Yeah, so I'm hearing there is a space and place for templates, but it is very restrictive. And certain platforms, no name calling Wix or Squarespace, they may restrict you on how much you can or cannot do, right? No name calling, but that's just the reality.
Correct.
So you talked about
hanging around me too long.
I know, right? Hey, I'm a WordPress girl. I've always been a WordPress girl, but there are spaces and places for those other platforms, for sure. So you talked a little bit about planning. So I want to go to Victoria, because Victoria's pet peeve is clients not understanding the amount of planning that goes into developing and designing a website. So share a little bit about why that's your pet peeve, Victoria.
Well, because I myself, when I first started, I didn't have any formal training. I'll be transparent. I've used GoDaddy website builder to build a site, right? And at the time, I'm like, oh, this looks good. I was able to get, and once I learned WordPress and I saw what was actually capable, what was able to be done, visually, I realized the limitations, just like Bernice was just saying. There's so many limitations around those things. And so when I went into WordPress and then I started building sites for our clients, and you have that initial call, and I'm asking questions, and as I've gone through these trainings, and I have coaching groups like where I met Carol, and we talk about these things. The first conversation that you have with the client is never about the design. It's never about what color or what font and things like that. That's secondary. That's going to come later. But we first have to understand, what's your business goals, and how can a website help align with those goals, and how can a website help you meet those goals and objectives, right? And so a lot of times clients will come to you and they're like, oh, I just need something simple. I just need a simple site. I just need this built, and that's it. They have no idea that we have to talk about, well, why is getting a website right now the thing for you to do? Where are you in your business? Okay, you want to achieve this in your business. Well, let's talk about what a website can do to help you achieve that. And now we're diving deep into these questions. And oftentimes entrepreneurs or even full-blown business owners have not thought about these things in their business. They haven't sat down and thought these things out. And so as you're asking these questions, they don't understand that I need this information in order to build a website for you that not only looks good. I mean, it's going to look good. We're designers, right? We got that part. But the functionality of it is what is really going to serve your business. And that's what you're paying for. You're not paying for me to put a color scheme on your site. You're not paying for me to install a font or make your heading this particular font. You're paying for a tool that's going to help your business, right? And clients just do not understand that sometimes. So I think before anyone that's listening begins to think about enlisting a professional web designer, or even if you're going to DIY it yourself, you have to be very, very clear first on what are my goals of my business right now? What do I want to achieve in my business? And then your next step from that is, okay, based on those goals or those objectives, what can my website's purpose be to align with those objectives and those goals? Like, what can my website do? If I want to increase sales, what is it about my website that is going to increase those sales? What types of functionality, what elements, what things can I have on my site that's going to impact those actual sales so that I can actually achieve my goals? And then you design around that purpose.
Yeah. I love that, Victoria. It's so important, the planning part of things, right? Making sure that you know people's objectives and goals. It's not just about a pretty website and pretty font colors, right? But what are we trying to achieve here with your website? So yeah, I love that planning is such a key and important part of the process. Now, Alexis, as I mentioned in the beginning, we're all women of color, right? And I know one of your pet peeves, Alexis, is I would love to see more spaces for women of color designers, also more of women of color designers in large web design communities. So tell us a little why that is your pet peeve as a woman of color, why that was the main thing that you really thought about as a pet peeve when it comes to web designing.
Well, first I have to say that I kind of misunderstood the question. I would have come with more pet peeves aligned with what they said, because I certainly have multiple that I could have added. I thought it was specifically for women of color, so that would be my pet peeve specifically in that realm.
Yes.
But I also would like to say that I totally 100% agree with everyone's pet peeve. I have experienced exactly the same things that you all have experienced. Even my most recent clients, every single one of you guys, I have experiences for. So I just wanted to say I totally agree with everyone. But yeah, I mean, obviously, when you're in this space, tech space specifically, and really being a woman of color, you know, you're always on. I mean, the group that I met Carol and Victoria in, I was like the first not only Black person, but Black person of color. I mean, a woman, I'm sorry. So it's just like, you know, I'm so glad to see more people finally, you know, and so it's just like you always, I'm sure we all have experiences of being like the only one or one of the few, and having platforms like this, I'm so grateful for this platform, you know, to be able to be connected with others, just to see who else is out there doing what you do. You know, you just don't know. You always see not you that's out there doing it.
It's the unicorn. It's just the unicorn out there. Where are we? Where are we?
I literally got a client because they said that I was a unicorn. They were looking for somebody Black, but when they found Black and a woman, they were like, yes, we have to go with her. I mean, that wasn't the only deciding factor, but that definitely played a part in it. So yeah, I just love to see more of it, you know.
I love that you misunderstood the question, Alexis. It gives us the opportunity to open up the floor to everyone else's experiences as a woman of color and in the different spaces and communities that you're in. Tell us a little bit more about your experience as a woman of color, as a web designer. What has it been like for you? Anyone else on the panel want to share?
I have
overall,
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I actually saw Alexis' face on like a promo for the group that we're in, and it actually made me feel more comfortable about joining, because I saw her and I'm like, okay, so it's not just, you know, what we typically see. And don't get me wrong, it's an excellent group. Like
it is.
It's an excellent group. I'm so thankful that I joined, but I have to admit, seeing her face as one of, because he has your face on the page, the sales page.
Everywhere, I know.
And I was like, okay, so she's in here. That made me more comfortable, because what you do see in spaces, like, you know, you're on Facebook, you join these groups, like you join groups for your page builder if you use, or whatever platform, and these different tools that you use in your business. And like Alexis said, you may be one of, you know, you might be a group of 10,000, and you might literally see 10 of you in the group, right? And I'm not exaggerating.
If that many.
And, you know, you ask a question, or you may answer someone's question, and then here comes someone explaining on top of what you've explained, or offering something else, or, you know, trying to discount what you've said. And I actually made a post about this on Facebook about a couple of months ago, just saying that what you have to deal with in this tech space as a Black woman, having to pretty consistently, for lack of a better phrase, get some people together in these spaces to let them know, I know what I'm talking about. And when I don't know the answer, I don't chime in. I'm probably following the post, trying to learn the answer like everyone else. But when I do chime in, I know what I'm talking about. Or when I'm asking a question, I don't need you to dummy it down for me. I don't need you to explain it in a different, you know, explain it to me. I'm here like you. I understand. And if I am learning something, I had to remind the guy, I said, well, remember, you weren't born knowing how to do this either. So let's back up for a second and be nice and kind to everyone, because there was once a point in time in your life that you didn't know this either. So remember that the next time you want to answer a question, or the next time you want to address someone. And you find yourself having to do that quite often. And I try not to feel like it's me, or I'm being overly sensitive, because it happens in different spaces. It happens in different groups. So these terms, you don't want to use these terms, but mansplaining is a thing. Like, it truly happens. And it's like, I don't need you to explain this to me. I'm intelligent. I know this as well. And I know these words. I'm asking this question over here, so I need you to help me with this. I don't need your background information on this thing over here. So it gets very frustrating, and it helps when I see women of color, Black women in particular, in this space, because you just do not see it that frequently.
Yeah, I love that, Victoria. So having a sense of safety, having a sense of familiarity when you see someone's face, like Alexis in that group. Do you guys want to shout out the group or no? I don't know. You've mentioned the group a couple of times. So I don't know if you want to do a shout out or not.
Oh yeah, we're in Josh Hall, Web Designer Pro. I mean, it's amazing.
It is.
I didn't want to put it out there on the streets unless you guys wanted to, because you did mention this community.
I tell people all the time, like, if you can, by all means, definitely.
Yeah. It's very diverse. It is a very diverse group. There are people from all over the country, all over the world, as a matter of fact. I mean, that's how I met Alexis and Victoria. The first day I joined, I was looking for something and I can't remember, and Victoria's face popped up, and I was like, "Hey, girl, it's so good to see you here." What? And I did Alexis the same way. I did one other person, and we did have a conversation, but she couldn't get on here. And I wanted to say one thing about the women of color web designers. In a group that I'm in, I'm not going to say what the group is or anything. Everybody was asking a question to this new person who had just come in. And this new person who had just come in was a young white guy. And they were, commenting on whatever. I commented. He did not say one thing to me. Not one, not a comment, not a like, not anything. And at first, I didn't think anything about it. But then I kept noticing that every time, and y'all know how I am, I can't keep my mouth closed. When I know something or feel something, every time I would comment on something, I did it for 2 or 3 times. About the third time, I was like, this person is done. I'm not saying anything else to them. I'm not offering any of my knowledge, because I didn't get any respect back. And anybody can say anything. I'm being too sensitive or whatever. I don't care. I had that feeling. I know the feeling. I was born in 1962 when it was crazy out there. And ain't nobody going to tell me that wasn't the thing. So, it's it's rough in these streets sometimes. It really is. And that's a very reason why I wanted to bring us together. And I'm glad I have, two of my sisters who are in the group. I have Bernice, who I've known for a while, and then I have Nadine, and all of us are here really trying to kind of do the same thing, help others be greater than they are. So, like I said, this thing coming to fruition, and to be a safe space to say what we need to say so other people can understand it. Because when you're in a crowd with other people, any others, and you say something, they all looking at you like you're crazy. But when you surrounded with the people who know you and you say something, you're like, yeah, child, yeah, I know what you're saying. So that's why this is important.
Yeah, I love that, Carol. It's also about, as women, number one, and then as women of color, a lot of times we're dismissed in a lot of spaces, right? We're not acknowledged, we're not noticed, we're not. So that example that you just shared, Carol, is an example of what can happen. As much as, like Victoria said, hey, I'm knowledgeable, I know what I'm talking about here, I won't be posting if I didn't. Some people always have this thought or idea of us not being less, right? Being less knowledgeable, so not seeing us. So it's important to have these conversations to talk about these things, because it is a reality. It's what you're dealing with in these web design spaces, and what a lot of women of color are dealing with in corporate America and in different spaces. So it is a thing. It is a real thing. But I do also want to lighten things up and talk about the joy of web designing, right? You guys got into the space because you love the web designing. So I'd love for you guys to share, why is this something that you find joyful to the point where you've, even like Victoria just recently switched her whole career, right? And now is in web design, or if you've been on for 30 years like Carol, or decades, what is the joy of web design? Share with everyone about why you find it joyful.
Is your website ready for a prime time? When your ideal prospects land on your website, do they see the true professional you are, or are they greeted by a site that's not quite ready for prime time? For 30 years, we've helped coaches and service providers transform their online presence into powerful client-attracting machines. As a premier website designers in the Atlanta area, we don't just build websites, we create conversion engines that work for you 24/7. Why choose CSI for your WOW website? We're experts in authority marketing. We help you convert web visitors into paying clients with our proven unmarketing strategy. We offer complete protection. We'll work hard to keep your website safe from hackers and accessible to all. And we offer purpose-driven results, custom designed for coaches and service providers who want to make a real impact. If you're ready to make an impact with your website, download our free WOW Website Planner today. Inside this planner, it'll give you all the information you need to create your own WOW website. Whether you use us or someone else, you need a WOW website that converts web visitors into paying clients. So go to csicorporation.com/planner right now and download the free WOW Website Planner.
I find it joyful. For me, like I said earlier, I truly enjoy seeing us grow. Okay, so when I got into this space, I didn't know anything about a funnel or email marketing or webinars or any of that. I had been subjected to them, and I had began to recognize when I was in a funnel, and I had began to recognize these different things. But I noticed that people that were doing these all looked the same. And then I knew all these people in my area that had businesses that were entrepreneurs, and I did not see them handling business in this way. And I wanted to let people know this is how you can grow your business. Like you have this, whatever this your business is, you're a travel agent, or you whatever, you do nails. This is how you can make this an actual business. Like I run into people, I see courses, for example. This lady, I got a newsletter. This lady made like $6 million. I'm sorry, $6 million with a course on how to grow a home herb garden. Okay. So there is money out here, and people are making money because they know how to use these tools in the right way. They understand digital marketing. They understand how to put all these different things into place. And so it's a joy for me to be able to explain this to people. Like, you have this idea for your business, you're doing great, but look, this is how you can put this on autopilot. This is how you can. I started my podcast. Carol reached out to me, and based off of what she said, I started my podcast. She told me about StreamYard and do this, and I started my podcast, right? And just her sharing that information with me, I didn't know it was that easy to start it. And so, being able to explain to someone, this is how easy it is to put these, do these lead magnets. This is how easy it is to get these people in your list. And so when you have something new, you got this group of people you can just shoot this out to, and they're going to buy it, because we don't know that these things exist. And that's kind of where it all just comes for me and makes it really enjoyable when I'm able to share that with people.
Yeah, I love that, Victoria. Anyone else? Why is being a web designer joyful for you? What's the most joyful thing about it?
So I'll say the creative process is really joyful for me. I'm always nervous every single time I start a new website. It doesn't matter how long I've been in or how many I've done. I'm always nervous, and I always hope they like it. Like, every time I send it over, I'm like, I hope they like it, and I'm always like on pins and needles until they respond, So that's probably never going to go away. But when I'm in the design process and I tinker around enough to get to that yes, like, I just feel that yes inside, like, yes, finally, okay, yes, this looks good, and I know that I'm representing them well. It's not just about the design, it's not just about how it looks, but it's also really heavily about the strategy involved. A lot of what Victoria has been saying, embedded in the compelling marketing copy. I have had to go back and forth with people about, answering my forms properly so that I can pull that copy out of them and have it prominently on there. All of that goes into that yes for me. It has to look good. It has to sound good when people are landing on it and reading it and all of that. And it also has to create the results that they are looking for. So on the back end is the creative process. On the front end is the results that you can, really create for the client. And I just have to share too, my recently launched site. My client was so very picky, and he wanted elegance, and he wanted all of these like high expectation words that he gave me, and it made me even more nervous. Like, but I was like, you know what, I'm up for the challenge. Let me make this happen. And mind you, he wants elegance and clean lines and all of this, but his logo looks nothing like that. So I'm like, how do I do this? But I rose to the challenge, and he was so impressed that I was just like so happy that he was so impressed. And it's like, that's what you want in your work, that you're feeling so happy and proud of yourself and the work that you're actually doing and the results that you're giving people. He mentioned that he talked to a colleague who said, oh, I can just get AI to build me a website. And he said, yeah, but he wouldn't have a website that looks like this. He was like the authenticity that you put in here of who I am in my business and what my business represents, that you were able to put into this web design, is no way that he would be able to get that. And that was just like such a high compliment. Yeah. So that's another joy that I get out of it, for sure.
I love that, Alexis. So the joy of the process of creating and then the results that you get for your clients is what makes web design so joyful for you. Anyone else want to chime in before I move on to another question I have for you guys?
Yeah, I want to answer that. So one joy is seeing that I relieved a client that was doing a lot of work on the back end, and to see how that website design has helped remove that process for them. Some clients, they're sending out emails, or they're sending out a PayPal link or a Cash App for someone to pay for their product or service. And I'm like, hey, we can create a website that can help with that process. They can complete a form form on your site. They can pay, there's an automation process that can, be added to your site. So you don't have to do that. And just the joy of seeing that client like, phew, I don't have to do this anymore. I have something that I can just quickly send our clients to. Right now, we're helping a school, and what they were doing, actually they were a class of 88, I think 80 is, a class of 88. And so what they were doing was taking dues. They had one person actually doing everything, making the calls, sending the cash out for that. So there's one person. So they reached out to me and said, listen, we have one person doing this. We want to relieve them. So to me, the joy of relieving that one or two people that have been doing a lot of things, that website can be the main thing or solution for those clients that have been working it and making those calls and getting all the information, that now having a website, you don't have to. So that's the joy, relieving those people that has been doing it for a while, but they have that solution that's going to take away that job duty that they had. So yeah, definitely that's one of the joys.
I love that, Bernice. So helping to be efficient and effective with processes for companies is a joy for you. I love that. Wow. So Alexis mentioned a little bit earlier about someone said, hey, I could just have AI build my website, right? So I wanted to ask you guys about some people even say, I don't really need a website nowadays. I can get a landing page and use just a landing page. So I wanted to hear you guys' thoughts on why it's needed and necessary to have a full website now. Why could you not just have AI do something, or maybe just throw up a landing page? Why do we need a website?
What's holding you back from hitting go on your marketing plan? Fear, being unsure, imposter syndrome, frustration? That stops now. What if I showed you how to reach your target audience and get them to buy? How to make social media marketing easy? How to understand the power of email marketing, and how to conquer your fear of putting yourself out there? What if I provided you with simple tools and techniques, easy to implement training that bring you clarity, and give you the expertise and the know-how to convert marketing into money? Hey there, I'm Carol J. Dunlop, the online wild strategist and 6-time best-selling author. I teach purpose-driven entrepreneurs just like you to convert marketing into money. If you're a purpose-driven entrepreneur who's ready to stop allowing fear and frustration to keep you stuck and instead embrace clarity, authority, and expert instruction to convert your marketing strategies into money in the bank, then you need to join the Unmarketing Academy. In the Academy, you'll take a deep dive into the tools, techniques, and trainings that helped me and my husband to sustain our successful business in spite of the 2008 recession, 2 major health crises, and of course, the pandemic. The Academy is about replacing expensive, frustrating, and overwhelming marketing practices with simple, easy to implement marketing resources that get you in front of your target audience and get you paid. This Academy is for purpose-driven entrepreneurs who crave simple marketing strategies, coaches who need real-life trainings to take the overwhelm out of marketing, small business owners who are ready to conquer their fear of putting themselves out there, service providers who want to use social media and email marketing effectively, action takers who are ready to go live without fear. Marketing your business successfully takes work and marketing. Without marketing, they don't know you exist. If you're ready to convert your marketing into money, you need to join the Unmarketing Academy. Join the Unmarketing Academy today by going to unmarketyourbusiness.com/join.
Have time.
I want to say, I know we're all trying to start on this one, but I wanted to say a lot of people I've talked to say, well, I don't need a website. I could just do Facebook or just do Instagram. And the one main thing I say to them, you don't own Facebook, you don't own Instagram. And if they put you in Facebook or Instagram jail, or delete your account, which I've known several people who have gotten their whole thing deleted, you are out of luck. You can never get those people back. You don't even know how to contact them. And I did want to say one thing about a landing page. A landing page, we have to look at it like it can be an introduction to a website, but you need to have a landing page that's on your own domain, not a lead pages landing page or a anything else landing page. If you can't get a whole website now, that's good. We know, we all have those people who come to us and say, my budget is this, but I need that. Okay, why don't we just start with the landing page, but put that landing page on your own domain. And especially if you use WordPress, you can expand that into a full website anytime you want. But you definitely need a website, because anything else you don't own, and if you don't own something, y'all know what happened with stuff that you don't own. It can be taken away really quickly.
And it's branding. I think it's,
Yes.
like Carol mentioned in the very beginning about the emails. If you use Gmail, AOL, any of those, you're branding that company. So, when I look at that same analogy with you have your website, you're branding your brand. You are branding your website. You are sharing your vision. You're branding your company's name versus, if you send a link, you're branding Instagram, you're branding Facebook. And two, I think the difference also is SEO, search engine optimization. So like when people are searching for you, then they're searching for that social media name. They're searching for the name of that brand versus your company. It's so many list of things I can name. I think especially those short links like Linktree is taken away from a lot of the necessity of a website. And so you find people that don't want to spend in a website developer or don't want to spend the time in the process. They would rather have an easy, okay, I can click this, I can easily click to put my information in here. Look, we are in a society where people prefer templates than going through a process, period. And I think that's one of the reasons why you will find people will choose they will choose the short way versus the process of developing a site. But let me say this, though, reason why I wanted to quickly share about this, because I've been talking about the progression of AI and Web3. I'm also in that tech space where I am also often in virtual reality. And I find that what happens and what's happening is I believe in the Web3 is going to replace website design. Period. And I can see how that's going to replace. That's another topic, but I can see how, because I'm in that space often, I can see that that's the next website design and website brand versus what's now with the social media and the websites. But I think right now, between I say at least 3 or 4 years, there's going to be an importance for website design because of the changes of social media, and then there are people that aren't in that Web3. They haven't transferred over completely to the Web3. People are still trying to figure that out. And because of that, they're still relying on website design, social media, etc. The basic, what we call, the Web2 space as well. So I think right now there is an importance for what we do as we transition over to Web3.
Now, for those of us that may not be familiar with Web3, that may be like a industry term, explain what Web3 is.
It's more so like the blockchain, where you'll find that instead of a basic website, people can actually be immersed in your space. Like we have at Loman Creative Services, we have a Web3 virtual reality office where whatever we're doing in the 2D space, like podcasting, website development, we're designing spaces for companies. Instead of developing the websites, which we do, we also develop that immersive space so people can be immersed in it, have their virtual reality headspace, and they have their, virtual reality headset. And people are immersed in that space versus actually just scrolling at a regular www URL.
Gotcha.
Very soon, the www URL will fade away because of that Web3 space. But I think right now, because not many companies are transitioning over as of yet, I do believe that there is a need for Web2, which is social media and website design.
Gotcha.
But definitely I do see the importance of that, because you find people that are looking, of course, always looking for services, always on Google, looking for the next restaurant, looking for the next place to go, the next adventure, next business, product, services. And so because of that, yes, it is important that we do have the URL at the moment. So definitely, yes.
Yeah. Anyone else want to chime in? Why is it important to have a website and not just rely on social media or just a simple landing page?
Yeah. I think people forget that whatever you do out there in the world, like in social media, if you do ads or anything like that, that stuff should point back to your site. Your website does the conversion, right? You bring the people in, they begin to know you and like you and all of that on social media. No doubt, having a presence is typically needed for businesses in today's time. You have to have a social media presence, but you're not conducting business on social media. You have no control over who social media shows your content to. You could be shadow blocked and not even know it. You're constantly posting and no one's commenting or anything. You have absolutely no control over that. But, when we talk about like the SEO space, and you can actually kind of begin to guide people to where you want them to be on your website. Anything that you do externally is always going to lead back to your site. Your site is what converts them. That's where the transaction should be taking place, not on social media. So
yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I love that, Victoria. It always reminds me of what Carol always said. Your website is your hub. I always have her voice in my head. Your website is your hub online. Your website is your hub online. So that's exactly what you were saying, Victoria. Now, I've been really enjoying this conversation. And honestly, I think we could probably spend a whole nother hour together talking about web design and, the plight of women of color in the web design industry. But I do want to make sure we end on a note from everyone, kind of chiming in about final thoughts on web design, anything that you feel led to share with the audience as a final thought. And then I believe you all have a gift or something that you want to share with the audience. So then I'll also go around and find out what your special gift is, or additional information you wanted to give the audience. So what would be a final thought? A final thought when it comes to web design, women of color in web design, whatever you feel led to share as we wrap up this episode.
I want to share my tip for all women of color. Make sure that you first have a Google business profile, not just your website, but also the Google business profile, so people in your area can find you. And on your Google business profile, make sure you have woman-owned business and Black-owned business. Yeah. I literally have gotten 3 clients specifically because I had those things on my Google business profile, which led them to my website. And then they contacted me and became clients. And I have a question on my form that asks them, if you found me on Google, what did you search for? And each one of them said Black web designer. And so if they are looking for a person of color, a Black web designer in their area, you want to be the one to come up. And I rank high for that in my area because a lot of people don't know to do it or don't do it. So you can definitely get clients that way. I just want to always share. I feel like that's a really important tip to share to anyone of color, that they should know that.
Yeah, I love that, Alexis, the importance of the Google Your Business part of it and making sure you have that done. Any other final thoughts as we wrap up?
Get a website.
Yeah,
it's important. Yeah, especially at this point. Yeah, definitely. I think we all can agree and all been saying the same thing. It's important. So make sure that you know that it is important. If you have a business, you have a product, you have a brand, you have a service, you need a website, period.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Get a website. That's the final thought for Bernice.
Yes.
Victoria, final thought for you?
I would say definitely try and find a space where you feel safe, and find a space with other women of color to support you. You're not, I don't want to say you're not, but the likelihood of you being able to do it 100% and totally on your own is kind of low. So I would highly recommend reaching out. developing some type of community or space where you can find people like you to help you to have a team or a group of people to bounce ideas off of, and actually just to even if you're just reading some of the things that they say, it keeps your mind kind of in that mode, and it keeps you from having like that imposter syndrome or not continuing to be motivated because you're constantly seeing things that everyone is doing. And it keeps you motivated and it keeps you in that space mentally so that you keep going. So I think having a space, something like this for me, it really changed a lot for me in my business.
I love that, Victoria. So the importance of community. So finding those right spaces as women of color is important for that motivation, that accountability, that inspiration, that support, all of the above. Yeah. All right, Carol, final thoughts before we get into how people can connect with each one of you guys, and if you have any special gifts that you want to give. Carol, what are your final thoughts?
My final thought is that don't compare your beginning with someone else's middle. So you may be out there looking at all these wonderful, awesome, super performing websites. You're like, I want that, but I can't afford that. Start where you can. The number one place, if you can't get a whole website, get a landing page. If you can't get a landing page, you can do some other things. And I'm sure that if you contact any one of us, we can tell you some things you can do, but don't lose it. You know, you got to be out there. You got to be in front of people. No one's going to hire you if they don't know you exist. So that was one thing that I really want to let y'all know. And then I'm going to start this off with my free gift to everyone is my WOW website planner. This is more than just a piece of paper, I guess. It really dives deep and lets you know exactly what you need to do to create your wow website, because nobody wants a dull website. We want wow websites, and that's what we create. So my gift is the wow website planner. The link will be in the show notes so you can read it. But if you want the link, it is csicorporation.com/planner.
Awesome. I love that. Someone else want to go ahead and share either how people can get in contact with you or if you have a free gift?
My website is alexistmyers.com, and my free gift is a strategy call to talk about your website strategy, your digital marketing strategy. I'm happy to offer that to anyone looking for it. And the link to that would be alexistmyers.com/call.
Okay, awesome. And Bernice?
I would like to offer a 30% off on website design for our 3-page website design package. And that expires October the 12th. So you guys make sure that you take advantage of that at lomancreativeservices.com. And the code is CSILCS. So that's CSILCS.
Awesome. I love that. Victoria?
Yeah, so my free gift is my website planning guide. It just helps people to begin the planning process, gathering everything that you need. I'm really big on that planning piece. So I really try to start everyone off with that. So it's just a very quick guide to kind of get you in the mindset of what you're going to need as you're starting your web design process, whether you're going to DIY it or you're going to work with a professional designer. The link will be in the show notes. It's kind of a long link, so I'm not even going to say it here, but it will be in the show notes for those who want to take advantage of that.
Okay. Awesome. So I have really enjoyed this conversation. I definitely, for those listening, those watching, take advantage of these amazing women of color that are doing amazing things in the web design space and the opportunities that they presented through the offers that they're giving, from sessions to discounts to planners. Take advantage of it all. So we thank you for your time and for being on the Unmarket Your Business podcast.
Would you like to get free coaching from me? Simple. All you need to do is go to unmarketyourbusiness.com/podcast. All right. I hope you enjoyed that. Did you find out a lot about us? All these women of color web designers out here. There's more than one, right? I know it was interesting. It was funny. It was something to chat about. And I want to thank all my guests, Bernice, Victoria, Alexis, and most of all, Nadine, for coming in and just being vulnerable, being just, sharing what they wanted to share. It was great. So a couple of housekeeping things before you go. If you like this episode, please review it on whatever platform that you get your podcast on, because it helps the show so much. If you leave your review and tell us how much you enjoyed it, I will accept nothing less than a 5-star review. I'm really kidding. I really want your real honest opinion about it. So please leave a review. It will help others to see if this podcast is right for them or not. And the other thing I want you to do is get this book. This book is Prayers and Inspiration for Mompreneurs. Now, actually, since we're all women of color web designers, we're also, I think all of us are mompreneurs as well, or most of us, I'm not sure. But, the mompreneurs need some help, especially right now. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's just a lot of, we won't even go into what there's a lot of. But this book is a journal, and it shares the stories of, I think, how many was it? Five or six, I believe. I'm sorry, I don't have it so I can look at it because, I don't have all my stuff with me, so I can't see. But it's 5 or 6 women entrepreneurs, mompreneurs, women of faith. And it's a journal that will really help you on this journey that you're on. So it's prayers and inspirations for mompreneurs. Go out there and get it right now. Okay, the website for that is csicorporation.com/mom book. That is one word, mom book. So go get your copy right now. Be inspired, especially if you're a mompreneur or a mompreneur. You can help them out by giving them this book. So again, I want to thank all my guests, all my women of color web designers, all you want to be women of color web designers. If you need anything from us, feel free to contact us. We all in the show notes will be all the information to get in contact with everyone. And then next week, my very special guest, Lisa Biggins, is going to be on, and she is going to be talking about redeeming your time. As I said in the intro that I did last week, I keep saying intro, but I guess it's the intro for the podcast. As I said last week, I got a new saying, you have time. And I use it everywhere, all the time with everyone, because you really do have time. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Unmarket Your Business podcast. Heard something you want to take action on? Great. Check out the show notes on unmarketyourbusiness.com/podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Please do me a favor and leave a review or on whatever platform you use to access this podcast. It really helps us to spread the word and get this podcast in front of the entrepreneurs that need it. See you next episode.